Hi, I'm Dr. Donald Jordan from the University of the Pacific of Stockton, California. I am experimenting with using Google Docs in my class this semester and wanted to share my experiences with other faculty. I've been using Google Docs for the last 3 years and have watched it change from a glorified web-based text editor to a full-featured word processor. There are still some enhancements I'd like to see, but I chose this platform for a few very specific reasons. First, I wanted something that was easy to access from across all of the computers that I use on both a daily and a weekly basis. Also, I wanted something that was collaborative and easy to share with minimal clicks. I wanted something that was easy to organize. But mostly, I wanted something that would allow me to have a better conversation about writing with my students. For this class, I told my students that they would be writing all of their papers and many of their weekly writing assignments in Google Docs. To do this, they simply log into their email account, click either Documents or Drive, depending on whether or not their account has been set up for Google Drive, and once there, they can create a new document and then share it with me as the instructor. As you can see, there are 3 levels of permissions that an author can grant: Viewer, Commenter, or Can Edit. At first I asked for only the comment permissions, but later requested that they add me as an editor, adding that I promise not to edit or alter their text without permission. This permission is important, though, as it allows 2 key abilities that I need as an instructor: word count and history. But before I get into that, let's look at the process that the student goes through. Once they create their document, they need to change the name from the default Untitled. For my class, I require the following naming convention: last name, dash, type, either essay or post in my case, dash, and a title of their choosing. Students can now write their papers. Once it's shared with me, I receive an email notifying me that the student has shared a document. When I started this experiment, one of my main concerns was how I would keep everything organized. I've been using Google Docs for about 3 years and have thousands of documents. How could I keep my course documents easily identifiable and organized? It turned out that this was fairly simple. First, I had already upgraded to Google Drive, which gave me the ability to organize my documents in a way that was similar to a computer system's file structure. I created a file for my course, and then I added a file for each of the major papers, and one for each of the weekly posts. The beauty of Google Drive is that I can do both of this from either the web interface or from the computer file system. This works on both Mac, which I have at home, and a PC which I use at work. Now when students share a document with me, I get an email that I click through into the actual document. However, to keep things organized, I prefer to go to my Google Docs page and then click on Share With Me link. Here you will see listed in chronological order by the date in which it was shared all the documents that have been shared with you. In this case, I see that there are several posts that I have not yet organized. To organize these submissions, I will select all of the week's first writing journal. I mark a check next to each one of them. Now I simply drag and drop the files I've selected into the Post 1 folder. When I click on that folder, I can now see all of my students' submissions for that assignment. To keep track of the assignments, I add a star to the files that I've responded to. The files I have not read showed up as boldface, while the ones that I have read are normal. You'll see that some assignments marked with stars are also bold. This means that after I've made my comments, the student either responded to my comment or came in and made changes to their paper. I teach the process of writing, so I encourage this. Rather than comments acting as a summary of a finished paper, I wanted my comments to be an ongoing conversation over the development of the paper. Notice now that because I've added the documents to a file on my drive, if I open up my Windows Explorer, I can access the papers from my computer. This works on a Mac as well by using the Finder. I can open up the student's paper simply by double-clicking, which then opens up in the default browser. At this point, when I read the student's paper, I can make 2 types of comments. Selected text comments on specific issues can be done by highlighting the specific text, right-clicking, and then making a comment about that specific text, or I can make more global comments by clicking the comment button and writing the comments there. One important note, depending on how your students have set up their document, Anything you post here will be emailed to them, so it's important to be specific. What's more, once the student has received your comments by email, they can either return to your document and post a reply to you directly, or they can reply to the email, which will have the same result. Their email will post as a reply to your comment inside the document. Some other useful features that you can use are the word count, if that's an important element of your assignments. However, a more significant tool is the See Revision History, which you can get to by clicking File, See Revision History, or by using the keyboard command Alt-Control-G. See Revision History opens up a pane on the right side of the document that provides a timestamp for every significant revision made to the document since it was created. In this case, there is only one author and the revision history looks exactly as I would expect. If I want to get more detail, I can click on the Show More Detailed Revisions, which gives me an almost keystroke by keystroke view of the creation of the document. As a writing instructor teaching the process of writing, this is invaluable information on how the document was written. I can click on any of these snapshots and view the document as it existed at that time. There are several ways, as you can imagine, in which this can be useful. First, as I'm interested in the process of writing, this history allows me to go back and view the development of a paper over time. To make sure this is possible, I add a statement to my course syllabus that explains to the students in the class that they are to actually compose their work inside Google Docs. They're not allowed to write in another word processor and then simply cut and paste back into this document. This is partly to record the actual writing process, but it can also be used as a type of anti-plagiarism measure. Does it stop plagiarism? Of course not. But they also can't simply copy and paste large chunks of text without being detected. See Revision History can also be used in group documents. When students are asked to produce a group paper, they often end up producing one paper with sections each written by one person. They tend to be concerned that someone who didn't participate will get credit, while they, who obviously did do the work, will not get the appropriate credit. For collaborative projects, I prefer to have groups produce a single paper that looks and feels like one person wrote it. It should be so finely edited that there is a single voice and one person's writing and editing merges into the next person's work. Show Revision History allows this to happen while maintaining clear markings of who did what, who contributed, and possibly who was slacking. One aspect of commenting on papers that I really dislike as an instructor is the fact that students write a paper, perhaps submitting multiple drafts, sometimes not, but when the final draft is submitted, we write our helpful comments and evaluations on a static document that is often finished in the mind of the student. Some studies suggest that often, students may not even read some of these comments. Google Docs, aside from being easily accessible and manageable in my own efforts to move towards a paperless classroom, allows commenting on papers to become less about summative declarations and more about conversations. Already, I have several instances where I posted a comment to a paper and students reply to me, either asking for clarification, a question, or giving me additional information. Sometimes, these conversations can span days or weeks, and is an excellent way to engage students throughout the writing process.